Saiva Siddhanta Sangraha, Saiva Siddhanta in brief, an authoritative text in Sanskrit on Saiva Siddhanta with authentic quotations from the Vedas, Upanishads, Smritis, Samhitas, Agama Shastras, Dharma Shastras, Kalpa Sutras, Itihasas, Puranas, and Upapuranas, by Mahopadhyayasivayogi, Kailashvasi Siva, Sri Mudigonda, Nagalinga, Sastri, Aradhyulu Garu, Tenali, Andhra Pradesh, India, 1876 to 1948 AD. Shivajnana Lahari, translated into English by Annadevara Subba Rao, M.A. BLIRS, retired. Published by Shivajnana Lahari, Hyderabad, India. Forward by Siddheswari Pithandipati of Kurtalam. Srimukam, Saiva Siddhanta Sangraha was written by Mahopadhyayasivayogi Sri Mudigonda Nagalinga Shastigurau in Sanskrita with Telugu commentary and translated into English as Saiva Siddhanta in brief by Shivasri Annadevara Subba Rao, who read it over to me. The book presents in lucid English Saiva Siddhanta for easy understanding by all. Undoubtedly, Saiva Siddhanta is ancient and most authentic in explaining the Tattvatrayam, i.e. Jiva Jagat and Ishvara, showing a clear path without contradictions anywhere and in unison with the concepts contained in all the Vidyasthanams. This has been well stated by Sri Nagalinga Shastri Gurau following the Nilakanta Bhasyam. The seekers of truth are amply rewarded by going through this book. I have known Shivasri Annadevara Subba Rao for more than 2.5 decades, and we moved closely in my Purvashramam, understanding each other without any consideration for material benefits. Hailing from an Aradhya family on his father's side, and Mallikarjuna Panditaradhya family on his mother's side of East Godavari district, Andhra Pradesh, Sri Subba Rao is a follower of Saiva Siddhanta in letter and spirit in his day-to-day life. I bless him in his efforts. The Saiva Siddhanta stated herein is universally beneficial to all, and I commend this book to all seekers of truth. Shiva Rakshatu Sri Shiva Chidananda Bharati Swami. Biography of Jagadguru Nilakantaradhya, 3100 BC to 2044 Kali era. Salutations to Sri Nilakantaradhya or Nilakantha Bhagavatpada or Srikantha, or more popularly called as Nilakantacharya, one of the 12 teachers or Dwadasaradhyas born to preach Saiva Siddhanta in this world. Yajurvedam is considered as Siram, or head among the 4 Vedas, which contains Satarudriyam. The Panchakshari mantra, or the 5-letter mantra, Namah Shivaya, is the middle of Saturudriyam in Ashtamanuvakam, or Yajurvedam. This mantra is considered as the greatest mantra, or Mula mantra, from which all other 7 crore mantras have come out. In Namah Shivaya mantra, Nama speaks of the Jiva, and Shiva, the Brahman, and Aya speaks of Shiva Jivaikyam, or Linganga Sambandham. That is why in Saiva Siddhanta, besides Namah Shivaya, called as Mula Mantra, is also referred to as Panchakshari Paravidya. Svatashvatarapanishad says, Tachiva Eva Kevala. So this Shiva Sabdam is stating the Paramjyoti Svarupam, while Brahmanadam is called as Shuksha Pranavam. Panchakshari is called as Shtula Pranavam, occupying in seed form or Bija Rupam all the 5 directions of east, south, west, north, and Urdhvam as Namam Shivam Yam. Again, Namah Shivaya is called Shtula Panchakshari, and with A, U, M, Bindu Nadam put together, called Aum, is Shukshumna Panchakshari. This Shiva Panchakshari mantra from Yajurvedam is considered the head of all mantras and is also called the Sira mantra. Those who have taken this Panchakshari mantra from the Guru after undergoing the Shadadvasuddhi or cleansing ceremony are considered as observing Shiravratram. Mahapasupata Diksha or Shaiva Mahadiksha, and they are only entitled to know Brahma Vidya. Says Svetashvatara Upanishad, Tisamivaitam Brahma Vidyam Veda, Siravratram Vidhi Vadyastu Tirnam. Siravratam does not mean carrying fire on head, as commented upon in some of the commentaries written by non-Shaivites. Vedas and Agamas proclaim that Panchakshari was only existing before creation started. The 51 letters of the alphabet beginning from A to Ksa, or A to Z, in any language of your birth, Omkaram, which is also called as Shtula Panchakshari, this Srusti Rahasyam, or secret of creation, hidden in the Vedas, is explained by Jagadguru Nilakantaradya. It is therefore but fair to pay homage first to the greatest exponent of the Veda Vangmayam, born in 3100 BC, equivalent to 2044 Kali era. So, the first two slokas from Nilakantaradya Stotram, written by Shiva Yogi Mudigonda Nagalinga Sastri, Guru, are reproduced below for the benefit of the readers. This Aradhana, or prayer sloka, contains in the beginning itself the word Shivadvaita Siddhanta, which calls for a little explanation. The unfolding of this entire creation in this universe, both visible and invisible, is only as a result of coming together of Prakriti, Shakti Rupam, and Pratyayam, i.e. Shiva Rupam. While Shakti is always changing, Shiva is always stable, and this Jagat is Shiva Shakyatmikam, says the Shiva Puranam Vayusamhita Vachanam. Again, this visible universe is appearing to us as changing, moving, or chit with the jivas and animals, etc., as also stable, or jadam, with mountains, etc. The Vedas say that Shiva is existing, tat Shiva eva kevala, both before creation, or Sruti, as Shukshama Kijada Karanarupam, Shtula Chidachit Karya Prapancham. That both these Shivas are only one is Shivadvaita or Shiva Vishishtadvaita Siddhantam. Chida and Chit are only different forms of this universe associated with Shiva, and it is only illusion to think that Shiva possesses Chit Shakti and Achit Shakti. This is explained in this sloka. The greatest of this Sruta Shaiva Siddhanta is discussed in detail in this book under the 15th question. 2. Nilakantacharya was born in 2044 of the Kali era, equivalent to 3100 BC, Svabhanu Telugu year, Chaitra month, Sudha Dasami, Pushyami star, Monday, in Kartaka Lagna at Sri Kailashvaram, near Warangal in Andhra Pradesh to Gauri and Vishveshwara Maheshwara. Aradhya parents of Bharadwajasa Gotra, with the blessings of Sri Kailashvara Swami, with Nilalothita Rudramsa, under a boon granted by Lord Shiva. He was born in Cancer Lagna with Jupiter and the moon therein, Mars in Meena, the 9th house, the Sun and Mercury in the 10th house, Aries and Saturn and Venus in the 11th house, Taurus. The life history of Nilakantaradya, narrated in Nilakantara Vijayam by Sri Mudigonda Nagalinga Shastri Guru, is stated below in brief for the benefit of the readers. When Lord Shiva, along with Parvati, were holding court in the Hiranya Mandap in Kailash, with Hari, Brahma, and other celestial gods, Narayana requested Shiva to send a scholar to propagate Shiva Bhakti and to clearly explain the truth in Vyasa Sutrams to the people on the earth. Shiva stated that since the influence of Maharishi Viganas and Badari, who were sent earlier to propagate Shiva Bhakti, is fading away, he is sending Nilalohita Rudra to take birth on earth to drive away the insanity of the people under the preachings of the Mayavadis, and to propagate Sruta Shivaradhya Sampradayam. This episode was narrated by Bodhayana Maharishi, who visited the boy's parents Gauri and Vishveshwara. He has taken all of them to Svetacharya, living at Varanasi. Svetacharya made Nilakantacharya a great scholar in Sharva Darshanams on the Chaturdasa Vidyas after his Upanayanam was performed, and after giving Sambhava Diksha, he imparted the boy Akora Vidya, and on completion of his education directed him to become a grihasta or householder and propagate Sruta Shaiva Siddhanta. Sri Nilakanta returned to Kailashvaram along with his parents and married Sharvamangala, daughter of Virabhadraradhya of Haritasa Gotram. King Vikramanka, attracted by his scholarship, is said to have become his follower. Nilakantaradhya's disciples include Haradatra Acharya in the south, who wrote Hariharata Taratamayam Somesekara in the west, Bhavadeva in the north, and Bhimesvara in the east, who propagated their gurus Bhasyam, Nilakanta Bhasyam, and Prasthana Triyam in all the four directions. Sri Nilakanta and Shavamangala were blessed with four sons, Someshvara, Agoranatha, Kailashvara, and Sri Girishwara, and it is said even today that those having the surname Kailashwaram residing around Warangal are the descendants of this family. Sri Nilakantacharya vanquished the Jaina, Bauddha, and Charvaka religions, stamping them as against Vedic principles, and established the Sruta Shaiva Siddhanta. He defeated in Bhasya Charchas, i.e. religious discourses, all the great pundits of Kashi. His Parvachanams, or discourse that Shiva alone has to be worshipped, Shiva Ekodhyeya, with unswerving devotion, and Shivadvaita Siddhanta alone is authentic, was said to have been echoed uninterruptedly by ringing of the great bell in Kashi Vishwanatha temple, spontaneously making pranavanadam. It is recorded that the Kashi Pandits, unable to defeat him in Shaiva Siddhanta Bhasyam, placed all their Bhasyams along with Nilakanta Bhasyam before the feet of the Devi in the Kashi Vishwananda temple, agreeing to accept whichever Bhasyam the Devi keeps on her head as authentic. When the doors were opened a little later, they found the Nilakanta Bhasyam on Devi's head, and all of them agreed Nilakanta Bhasyam is authentic and prostrated before Nilakantacharya. In course of time, the Nilakanta Bhasyam has gone behind the curtain due to Kali Prabhavam, because in Kali Yuga, Shaivam is not tasteful, and the saying goes that Kala Shavamarachakam, till it was presented to Sri Nagalinga Sastri Guru by his guru, Sri Srinivasa Siromani of the south, at the fag end of the 19th century. Except for scholars of philosophy, many educated persons are not aware of the Sruta Shaiva Siddhanta or the Nilakanta Bhasyam. Shivajnana Lahari has brought out another book exclusively dealing with the greatness and antiquity of the Nilakanta Bhasyam from the articles published by Sri Nagalinga Shastri Guru in his monthly magazine Sruta Shaiva Pranchashika during 1901 to 1926. Sri Nagalinga Shastri Guru wrote a detailed commentary in Sanskrita thereon, commenting on all the 545 Brahma Sutras of Vedavyasa. It is hoped that this Sanskrita Nilakanta Bhasyam is printed and published in all the languages for the benefit of the scholars. The Nilakanta Bhasyam is much earlier to Shankara and Ramanuja's Bhasyams, and Sri Nagalinga Shastri Guru has pointed out that Nilakanta Bhasyam was referred to by Shankara and Ramanuja, and also Sri Vidyaranya in their Bhasyams and writings, and is discussed by the author in a separate article which may be referred to. Biography of Shiva Yogi Mudigonda Nagalinga Shastri Guru, 1876 to 1948 AD. Born in an Aradhya Brahmin family of Sanskrita scholars, well-versed in Vedas, Agamas, Tarka, Vyakarana, and Dharmashastras, the Mudigonda family trace their history as descendants of sage Udbhataradhya, the guru and mentor of the great king Vikramaditya of Ujjain. Sage Malanaradhya, who is credited with curing the Brahma Rakshasa Graha dosha of the father of King Prataparudra Deva of Urugalu, the present Warangal, and sage Virabhadraradhya, the great exponent of Shaivadvaita philosophy, and writer of a number of books on Shaivadvaita Siddhanta, including Chinmaya Diksha Vidhi, Antyestividi and Shiva Yogi Shankaradhyulu of Warangal, credited with propagating Shiva Bhakti through his writings and performing 1 lakh Ganacharanas, i.e. performing puja to Shiva Bhaktas, identifying them as Shiva himself in Warangal and other places of Andhra Pradesh, and the latter half of the 19th century and early period of the 20th century, all of whom belonged to this Mudigonda family. Sri Nagalinga Sastri Guru was of Yajashaki Bharadwasa Jagotra and Apastamba Sutra. This grandfather was Nagalinga Radya. His grandmother was Viralakshmana. His grandfather had 3 sons, Somanaradya, Agoranaradya, and Virabhadraradya, and daughter Muktamba, who were all scholars in Sanskrita, Nigamagamic Visaradas, and Pancharakshari Japaparayanas. His second son, Agoranaradya, married Jwalamba, sister of Mukti Lingaradya of Etumukala village in Krishna district, belonging to the Mulugu family of Vemanaradya Vamsham. To them were born 3 sons, Naga Malikarjunaradya, Nagalinga Shastri, the author, and Ramalinga Shastri, and daughter Malikamba. All of them were scholars in the Vedas and Agamas, Tarka, Mimamsha, Vyakarana, Shastra, Ayurveda, and Jyotish Shastra, and well versed in installing Shivalingas in temples. Sri Nagalinga Shastri Guru started his education at the age of 5 under his uncle, i.e. father's sister's husband, Sri Malampali Virisha Lingaradya of Pamidimukala village in Krishna district. In his 8th year, he started Sabdamanjari under Mudigonda Nandikeshwaradya and completed memorizing the Kalidasi's Sanskrita Kavyams under Sri Ivaturi Lingaya Shastri Guru of Kotarpali Angraharam, then of Godavari district, now in West Godavari district. He returned to Tenali and read Manucharitra and other prabandhams under Sri Mudiganga Chandramalishwara Aradhya, author of Linga Purana, a Telugu poetical work. He left for Sri Kalahasti at the age of 15 and read Panini Vyakaranam under Srinivasi Shastra Guru, respected by Sanskrita scholars in those days as Apra Patanjali. At the age of 19, he left for Nadukaveri in Madras province, now in Tamil Nadu, and read Tarka, Mimamsa, Nilakantha, Shankara, Ramanuja, and Madhva Bhasyams under Srinivasa Shastrigal, a sage and great Shaivite scholar, well versed in Apaya Dikshitar and Nilakantha Shaiva philosophies, considered as an authority in those days in Sanskrita, Pada, Vakya Pramanams, and author of several authoritative texts on Shaiva Siddhanta in Sanskrita and Tamil, Brahmavidya Patrika. Sri Nagalinga Shastri Guru discussed in detail with his guru the 3 bhasyams cited above, and all the 28 Shavagamas, and won laurels from him. At that age only, he wrote a book in Nagaradipi, i.e. Tamil script, called Raksha Rudraksha Chandra Martandam, eulogizing the greatness and power of Rudraksha and its wearing on one's body, and dedicated the book to his guru, who agreed with him that the Agama Shastras are equal to the Vedas in all respects, but not lower, and should be respected and allowed by all sistras or scholars. It is stated that Sri Srinivasa Sastrigal gave him the Nilakantha Bhasyam available with him on palm leaves, exhorting him that it is the oldest and most authentic Bhasyam on Shaiva Siddhanta, followed by all from his times immemorial, and that it is up to him to propagate the Bhasyam by writing a suitable commentary thereon. At the age of 20, in 1896, he won a prize in Vyakaranam, conducted by the Raja of Ramanadapuram on the occasion of the Dashara celebrations in Durmukhi Telugu year. He had to return to Tenali, hearing of his mother's death, and could not go back to the south thereafter. Jwalamba, second daughter of Sripati Panditaradyula, Uma Maheshwara Aradhyulu. He returned to his native place and studied the Shastras there for some time. Realizing that service to religion is service to his mother, he returned back to Madras and started printing, publishing, and distribution of the magazine called Srutashaiva Prakashika in Telugu and Sanskrita, projecting the Shaiva Siddhanta stated in the Vedas. During this period from 1900 to 1903, he translated Appayaya Dikshitar's books on Shaiva Siddhanta, like Brahmatarkastavam and Bharata, Ramayana, Chaturveda Tatparya, Sangrahams, Shivakarmamrutam, and Pancharatna Stuti, by writing a detailed commentary on them in Sanskrita, explaining the meanings in Telugu. He wrote during this period 5 books in Sanskrita with Telugu and Sanskrita commentaries. They are 1. Shaiva Siddhanta Sangraha, 2. Shaiva Avakaranam, 3. Srutamevadi Shaiva Chihavi, 4. Srutamevahi Dharanam Lingasya, and 5. Sista Sarve Shivam Prapana. All these books were printed in Srutashaiva Paraksika between 1900 and 1903 itself. From 1904 till 1916, besides propagating and writing various books on Shaiva Siddhanta and visiting various places and taken part in Shaiva Siddhanta and Bhashya discussions clearing doubts, all the above 5 books are now translated into English and printed and published by Shivajanana Lahari. As his father became old, he returned to his native place. He was only 40 years old then. He settled at Tenali and worked for some time as a Sanskrita teacher in the Sanskrita college there. He left the Sanskrita college after a few years with a view to propagate extensively and exclusively Shaiva Siddhanta. He wrote nearly 100 books on Shaiva Siddhanta and connected subjects. During this period from 1916 till his death in 1948, he printed, published, and distributed magazines on Shaiva Siddhanta from Tenali under the names of Shaiva Rahasya Bodhini, 1928 to 1931, and Jnana Vahini, 1933, and projected in detail the greatness of Shiva and Shaiva Siddhanta, stated in the Vedas, emphasizing that it is the oldest religion of the world. He wrote extensively on the Vedic authority for Shivalinga Puja and on various customs followed by Shaivites, including Antyesti, or ceremonies performed for the departed souls, and clearing the doubts raised as regards the customs followed by Shaivites, like Bhasmadharana, Rudraksha-dharana, and Linga-dharana, even at the time of Ashauchams in their families. He discussed at length the religious concepts contained in the Dvaita, Advaita, and Visistadvaita philosophies, and established authoritatively that the ways followed by the Dvaita and Advaita philosophers would lead the mumuksha or seeker of salvation nowhere, and pointed out the inconsistencies in the commentaries written by those Mathacharyas and the meanings ascribed by them to the Veda mantrams and Vyasa sutrams as not correct and not adhering to the Vedas, and sent his works to Sanskrita scholars throughout India and abroad. None of them contradicted his writings. He wrote more than 100 books, mostly on Shaiva Siddhanta, establishing the Vishishta Advaitam or Shivadvaitam, stated by Nilakantacharya in his Bhashyam called Nilakantya Bhashyam, said to be the oldest and in vogue much earlier than Shankara and Ramanuja Bhashyams. The great Shaivite scholars of the south, Appaya Dikshitar and Alayanatha Sastri, have agreed that Nilakanta Bhashyam is the earliest and most authentic on Shaiva Siddhanta in explaining the Veda mantrams and Vyasa sutrams correctly. Sri Nagalinga Shastri Gurau wrote a commentary on Nilakanta Bhashyam under the title Shiva Chintamani Prabha, following Appaya Dikshitar's Shivarkamani Dipika during the 1930s in Sanskrita, covering all the 545 Brahma Sutrams stated by Vedavyasa. This book was printed after his death and published by Shaiva Pancharandi Gandamala, Warangal, under the stewardship of his student Sri Mudigonda Virisalinga Shastri Gurau in the year 1950. It is hoped that this Sanskrita Nilakanta Bhashyam is also translated into English so that the seekers of truth the world over can know the Tattvatriyams, i.e. Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara in their true perspective. The achievements of Sri Nagalinga Shastri Gurau during his lifetime are given below. At the age of 20 in 1896 AD, equivalent to Durmukhi Telugu year, he won prizes from the Raja Ramanandrapuram in Vyakarana Shastram. In the year 1900 AD, equivalent to Sharvari Telugu year, he discussed at length with the Asthana Siddhantis known as Balasarasvati, Tarkaratna, and other Sanskrit scholars of the Raja of Atmakur, and established the Siddhanta that Shiva eva Jagat Karanam, or Shiva is the root cause of this universe, and it appears that immediately thereafter the book Shiva eva Karanam was published in 1901. In the year 1901 AD, Pandit D. Gopalacharya of Jivamrutam fame of Madras, a great Sanskrit scholar and highly respected Vaishnava Pandit, conducted an all-India religious conference with all Vaishnava, Saiva, Madhva, and other scholars, in which Nagalinga Sastri Guru participated and discussed Shaivite concepts of wearing bhasma, rudraksha, and linga on one's body, and established their wearing as according to the Vedas and Vaidikam, whereas application or wearing of Taptashankrankanams, Udvapudrams by Vaishnavites as Tantricham. He defeated all the Pandits in the conference and won a prize of about 10,000 rupees from the hands of the great Vaishnavite scholar Sri D. Gopalacharya. When a sovereign of gold was barely 2 rupees then, he could have easily purchased about 100 acres of fertile land around Tenali in those days. Instead of that, he established a Shaiva Siddhanta Mudranalaya, or printing press, at Madras in 1901 with that money, and written, printed, and published and distributed about 100 books on Shaiva Siddhanta, and also ran a Shaiva Siddhanta magazine under the name of Sruta Shaiva Prakashika, propagating the Bharatiya Samskriti. All this work was done by him alone. In the year 1929, at the Saraswata Mahasabha conducted at Vijayanagaram under the presidency of Mahopadhyayasivayogi Brahmasri Tata Subbaraya Shastri Guru, a great scholar in Sanskrit, Sri Nagalinga Shastri Guru recited a poem extempore in 4 languages and was conferred Mahopadhyaya status in language and literature. In the year 1929, at the Brahmana Mahasabha conducted in Eluru, known as Helapuri then, he established the correct procedure on Parishkaram, or authority for conducting annual ceremonies by one's grandsons and granddaughters, in the absence of the sons and daughters of the deceased. In the same year, in 1929, at Eluru, he recited extempore a whole book on Gomahatyam, or greatness of Mother Cow, at the meeting conducted by Gorakshanatha Samriti of Eluru, and won a prize of 116 rishis, when a sovereign of gold was barely 4 rishis in value at that time. He was elected president of Shaiva Mahapitam Vijayavada in 1929, and again a number of times, and was honored by the people of Warangal on an elephant, and Gajatshavam was performed. He dismissed the theories in vogue then on Dahana Sapinda Siddhanta, or Shivaparapu Virabhadra Pakayaji, and defeated him in the discourses conducted on this subject, and established the Shaiva Siddhanta as regards Ashuchams and Antyesti, and written authoritative books on them with extensive quotations from the scriptures, and was considered as a Parasarasvati, or embodiment of the goddess of learning. He dismissed the view expounded by Ayurveda Visharada Pandita Kasinaduni Raja Linga Shastra Guru, a famous Ayurvedic physician of Tenali around 1900 AD, that by Kayakalpa Chikista, i.e. bodybuilding therapy, one could live thousands of years, as not applicable in Kali Yuga, at the meeting conducted on the occasion of Ganapati Navaratri Utsavams at Sanskrita College, Tenali, and showed his mastery over Ayurveda Vidya also. He stated that the aging of the body could be controlled, but not one's lifespan ordained by God. He won in the Bhashya Charchas, or discussions on Brahma Sutras, against Pada, Vakya, Pramana, Tatvajna, Tarka, Vedanta Vidvat, Sikamani, and Vidvatsabda Pariksandikari of the Samsthanam of Raja of Urlam, now in Orisha, and established the greatness of Nilakanta Bhasyam in expounding the Shaiva Siddhanta, and was honored by the Zamindar of Urlam. In 1937, on completion of 60 years, he was honored by the people of Vijayawada at the Shaiva Mahapitham premises opposite the present Durga Kalamandir Talkies at Vijayawada, and Shastiabdi Purti Mahosavam was performed. Between 1930 till he passed away in 1948, Sri Nagalinga Sastri Guru wrote many more articles and commentaries on Shaiva Siddhanta, which have yet to be printed in book form. The Shaiva Pancharini Grandamala Warangal, under the stewardship of Sri Mudigonda Virasalinga Shastri Guru, printed around 1929, some of them, which includes Dharma Sangraha, containing Anika Kanda, running into nearly 400 pages in Sanskrita, with the meanings in Telugu, besides Varnashrama Dharma Kanda, Antyesti Kanda, and Asutra Kanda. The other two, i.e. Prayaschita Kanda and Dhyana Yoga Kanda, appear to have not been printed. Sri Nagalinga Shastri Guru during this period wrote a detailed commentary covering all the 545 Brahmasutrams, following the Shruta Shaiva Siddhanta Stapaka Jagadguru Nilakanta Bhagavat Pada Shaiva Bhasyam, stating as under Brahmasutra Satyartha Badanasakta Chitena Shiva Yogi Nagalinga Shivaradhyana Sri Imadapaya Dikshitrita Shiva Kamani Dipikakta Sangraha Samyojita Lagu Shiva Kamani Dipiketya Paranamadya Prasida Shiva Chintamani Prabda Vyakya Shamintam. This book was printed in 1950 and published in 1954 in Sanskrita by Mudigonda Virasalinga Shastri Guru with the financial assistance of the Shiva Puja Durandara Sri Akaraput Narsingam Gupta Guru, Vaishya Shrestha of Warangal. It is hoped that this Sanskrita Bhasyam is also printed in Telugu and other languages. Similarly, Nilakantaradya wrote commentary on Bhagavad Gita also under the title of Tattvamrita Ratnakaram, and Nagalinga Shastri Guru wrote a commentary on this under the title Lagu Chandrika. He has also written in Sanskrita Bhagavad Gita Tatparya Nirnayam, and both these books together were printed and published in 1958 by Mudigonda Virasalinga Shastri Guru in the Sanskrita language, with the financial assistance rendered by Shiva Bhakta Grisara, Vaishya Chudamani, Kumaravali Balaraja Gupta of Warangal, and his sons and others. In regard to Bhagavad Gita, it is felt appropriate to bring the following points to the notice of the readers. We find a copy of Bhagavad Gita considered as sacred and a holy book in the hands of almost every Hindu from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. In this book, all dharmas or code of righteous conduct, indriya ningraham, i.e. controlling of the sense organs, the existence of God, the ultimate reality of Brahman, called as Ishvara or Shiva, the difference between Jiva and Paramatma, i.e. living beings and Brahman, besides Bhakti and Mukti, i.e. devotion and salvation, are stated. Nilakantaradya stated in his Gita Bhasyam that Jagat Karta is Ishvara, Jnanam means only Upasana, and Tyagam means surrendering everything to Shiva. Calling karma phala tyagam, and the jiva gets mukti only by absolutely surrendering the fruit of all actions to Shiva, the ultimate reality. This is the essence of all Gita Shastras, because there are many such Gita Shastras projecting the Paramishvara Tattvam. While the Gita stated and propagated in the Kritya Yugam and Treta Yugam go under the names of Sanat Kumara Gita, Shuta Gita, Rudra Gita, Brahma Gita, Shiva Gita, etc., and are known as the first part of Bhagavad Gita, the Gitas written and propagated in Dwapara and Kali Yugas, such as Uttadya Gita, Krishna Gita, Vamadeva Gita, Hamsa Gita, Anugita, Bodhya Gita, and Shampaka Gita are known as the second part of Bhagavad Gita. From this differentiation of the Gita Shastrams, it is appropriate to call the Gita Shastrams stated by Lord Krishna to Arjuna at the time of the Mahabharata war to infuse the self-confidence and explain the Ishvara Tattvam to Arjuna as Krishna Gita. A list of books written by him by the author given in the appendix of this book to the extent available. The great Shaivite scholar Kasinaduni Virishalingam Ayavaru of Machilipatnam paid glowing tributes to him in a Champakamala poem in these words: "He was a learned man with whom one can discuss the Shastras to one's satisfaction, imbibed with all good qualities, a great poet, one who understood the essence of the Vedas, one who worshipped Siva with great devotion, a great commentator of the Veda Vagmayam without compromise or contradiction. May he alone bear this Bharatiya Samskruti like the thousand-hooded serpent King Shisha, bearing the weight of this entire universe, and inspire the younger generations on Indian values for years to come." Shiva Rakshatu. 1. Hindu religion, its basic tenets. Question 1. In India, i.e. Bharat, we find people calling themselves Shaivites, Vaishnavites, Madhvas, Shaktiyas, Dvaitas, Advaitas, and Vishishtadvaitas, etc., besides Arya Samajikas, Brahma Samajikas, Jains, Buddhists, and many others, all calling themselves Hindus. Are all these Hindu religions, or is only one among them Hindu religion? Answer 1. It is not possible to say that all or any one of them is Hindu religion. Question 2. Then can it be said decisively that this is Hindu religion? Answer 2. Yes, it can be said decisively. Question 3. How can it be said? Answer 3. Hindu religion has certain definite and precise characteristics, and whichever religion has all these characteristics can only be called rightly as Hindu religion. Question 4. What are these characteristics? Answer 4. They are 1. Atma Nimayam, 2. Janmantara Vishvastam, 3. Karmanustanam, 4. Ishvara Nishchayam, 5. Vigradaradhanam, 6. Paraloka Satyavam, 7. Punyapapashishpanam, 8. Vamashramadharmam, 9. Vedaparmanyam. These will be explained in detail below. Only that religion professing all the above 9 characteristics can be called Hindu religion, and others not. It is also called Astik religion, or one which believes in the existence of God in the ultimate reality. Question 5. How are they explained? Answer 5. These are explained in detail below. 1. Atmanirnayam. One should know, realize, or believe that the results of the good or bad actions done by him in this birth have to be experienced by him alone, i.e. his Atma alone, either in the next birth or in the other world. Atma means self only. The Charavakas say that Shariram, or the body, is only Atma, but not different from it. If this is so, then this Atma or self also should get destroyed along with the body. Then it has to be accepted that the result of all his actions, good or bad, will also be destroyed along with the body. In that case, he has to agree that there is no punya or papa, i.e. good or bad, which is ridiculous. Therefore, to say or believe that there is neither punya or papa can be called Hindu religion or Astikamatam. Therefore, the first foundation stone for Astikmatam or Siddhanta is Atmanirnyam. That his self or Atma is different from his body is the first characteristic for Astikmatam. 2. Janmantara Visvasam. The second characteristic is to believe that he himself has to take on another birth after rejecting the present body. This is called Janmantara Vishwasam. 3. Karmanustanam. The third characteristic is to believe that karma or action is the root cause for taking another birth. The Hindu religion in its wisdom prescribes and tells at length the good deeds or actions to be performed by the self during one's life. This is stated in 14 books, popularly called Chadurdasa Vidyastanams. These are the 4 Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Atharvana Veda, Samaveda, and 6 Vedangas, Shiksha, Vyakaranam, Kalpam, Niruktam, Jyotisham, and Chandas, and 4 Upangas, Mimamsa, Nyaya Shastra, the Puranas, and Dharma Shastras, total 14 Chaturdasha Vidyastanams. 4. Ishvara Nishchayam. The 4th characteristic is to believe that there is a God to confer the result of one's actions done in this birth. 5. Vigraharadhanam. The 5th characteristic is to pray or serve God in the shape of vigrahams, or an idol form called idol worship. 6. Paraloka Satyatvam. The 6th characteristic is to believe firmly that there is another world, or paralokam, to experience the result of all actions, good or bad, done in this world and in this birth. 7. Punya Papa Vishwasam. The 7th characteristic is to believe in the existence of punya and papa, or the results for doing good deeds or actions, and bad deeds or committing sins. 8. Varnashrama Dharmam. The 8th characteristic is to follow scrupulously the duties ordained by the Vedas to each of the people born in the 4 Varnas, namely Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudra in their 4 ashramams, i.e. Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas ashramam. 9. Veda Pramanyam. The 9th and the most important characteristic is to believe in the sayings of the Vedas prescribing do's and don'ts for the good of the people, protecting them from committing sins. Therefore, unless the educated persons are fully aware of Astika Tattvam and the characteristics of the Hindu religion they are following, they cannot do justice either to themselves or to the society at large. Again, instead of brushing aside religion as creating headache, it is necessary for one and all to know the Hindu religion as stated by God and later expounded by Vedavyasa and other Maharishis, which prescribe certain duties or dharmas to be performed for living happily in this birth and beyond, and for getting bhakti and jnanam to get mukti or salvation ultimately. 6. Hindu religion authoritative texts. Excerpts from the author's book Vidyastana Vinirnayam. Mahopadhyayasivayogi Mudigonda Nagalinga Sastri Guru wrote a book himself on this subject with Sanskrit commentary explaining the traditional Mimamsa lines, i.e. first stating the prostration, then stating another's point of view, or Purva Praksham, then dismissing another's views with authoritative quotations, and finally establishing the truth stated in the proposition. This book is called the Vidyastana Vinimayam, or the authoritative text on education, because education only gives a human being, yukta parijnanam, to reach God by the most accessible and safest route. Shiva is identified as the source of all vidyas. In this book, Sri Nagalinga Shastri Guru starts the discussion observing that the Yuga Purush Kali has already entered and started his work of spoiling the educational system in this country by spreading disinformation about the authoritative texts as non-authoritative and created modern texts as authoritative, and in the process pulling down the grand edifice of the culture of this great country to smithereens. Only the first sloka with its meaning is given with a brief gist of the other slokas. This book was published in 1925 by Saiva Pracharani Gandamala Warangal. Vidya Ramyodhyana, Sonagra Bringam, Vidya Vamaradanga, Mindut Mangam, Vidya Shapti Vyutta, Prithvi Satangam, Vidyasnam Naumi Sarvajna Lingam. Shiva is Vidyanatha, Upashana Vedya, i.e. known only through correct understanding of the Upanishads, like a bee in the garden of the Upanishads with Uma, his consort, as Brahmavidya Svarupini Chaturshasti Kalamayi on his left, and wearing the moon's Kala as eulogized in the Vedas, Jnana Chandra Kalatrudam, bearing the characteristic name Sharvajna, with earth as his chariot pulled by 4 horses representing the 4 Vedas, is the first teacher of this Hindu religion. The author, after paying his salutations to Shiva, the Vidyanatha states in the other slokas that the Vedas are four: Rig, Yajur, Atharva, and Sama. Vedangas are six: Shiksha, Vyakaranam, Kalpam, Niruktam, Jyotisham, and Chandasu, and Upangas four: Mimamsa, Nyaya, the Puranas, and Dharmashastras. Total 14 Vidyas, or Chaturdasa Vidyastanams. Of this, Rig Veda contains 21 branches, Yajurveda 101, Samaveda 1000, and Atharvana Veda 9 branches. At the Krishna Mandala Veda, Vidwat Pravardhaka Sabha held recently in Krishna Mandala Veda Vidwat. Recently in April-May 1998 at Vijayavada AP, some of the Vedic scholars who have come from all over the country stated that some of the branches are now extinct, as there are no scholars alive representing those branches. Let the rulers of this great country awake and preserve the great traditions of India. The Upanishads are described as the heads of the Ved Purush. These include 1. Sri Rudram, 2. Brihadaranyakam, 3. Svataspataram, 4. Mundakam, 5. Kavalyam, 6. Kalagnirudram, 7. Katavali, 8. Bashkalam, 9. Hamsam, 10. Paramahamsam, 11. Brahmam, 12. Narayanam, 13. Kathyayanam, 14. Brahmabindu, 15. Aranyam, 16. Amrutabindu, 17. Panchabrahmam, 18 to 22. Panchajabalams, 23. Tejabindu, 24. Mudgalya, 25. Bodhayanam, 26. Charcha, 27. Sravadam, 28. Parakramam, 29. Pratcham, 30. Sunakam, 31. Shivashankalpam, 32. Ashurayanam, 3. Maitreyanayam, 34. Vajashanayakam, 35. Vedantasharam, 36. Pranavam, 37. Vajrasuchi, 38. Anbakam, 39. Shankyaniyam, etc. Apart from the Vedas, which have come out spontaneously, there are 28 Shivagamas, specifically stated by Ishvara, describing the three things called Pashu, Pati, and Pasham. These Shivagamas are contained in 4 padas, or chapters, described as 1. Kriyapadam, 2. Charyapadam, 3. Yonipadam, and 4. Jnanapadam. They are 1. Kamikagamam, or Kamikam, 2. Yogajam, 3. Chintyam, 4. Karanam, 5. Ajitam, 6. Diptam, 7. Shukshamam, 8. Sahasram, 9. Ansamantam, 10. Suprabedam, 11. Vijayam, 12. Vishwasham, 13. Svayambhavam, 14. Analam, 15. Viram, 16. Ruravam, 17. Makutam, 18. Vimalam, 19. Chandrajnanam, 20. Bimbam, 21. Pradgitam, 22. Laditam, 23. Siddham, 24. Santanam, 25. Shirvaktam, 26. Parameshvaram, 27. Karanam, 28. Vatulam. Shaiva Siddhanta is stated in detail in regards to its observance in day-to-day life in these Shivagamams, besides rules concerning the constructions of temples and installations of lingas, etc. There are 18 Puranas. These are 1. Brahma Puranam, or Brahmam, 2. Padma, 3. Vaishnava, 4. Shaiva, 5. Bhagavata, 6. Naradya, 7. Markandeya, 8. Agneya, 9. Bhavishyat. 10. Brahmakaivarta. 11. Linga. 12. Varaha. 13. Skanda. 14. Vamana. 15. Kurma. 16. Matsya. 17. Garuda. And 18. Brahmanda. There are 18 Upapuranas. These are 1. Sanat Kumara, 2. Narasimha, 3. Skanda, 4. Shivadharma, 5. Durvasha, 6. Narada, 7. Kapila, 8. Manuva, 9. Usana, 10. Brahmanda, 11. Varuna, 12. Kushika, 13. Vashishthalinga, 14. Samba, 15. Saura, 16. Parashara, 17. Marichi, 18. Bhargava. The following 18 are the Smriti Karthas, with the Smriti going under their names. 1. Manu, 2. Bruhaspati, 3. Daka, 4. Gautama, 5. Yama, 6. Angirasa, 7. Yogeshwara, 8. Pruchita, 9. Satatapa, 10. Parashara, 11. Samvarta, 12. Usana, 13. Shankya, 14. Likita, 15. Atri, 16. Vishnu, 17. Apastamba, 18. Harita. There are 18 Upasmriti Kartas, with the Upasmritis going under their names. 1. Jabali, 2. Nachiketas, 3. Skanda, 4. Lokashi, 5. Kasyapa, 6. Vyasa, 7. Sanat Kumar, 8. Sanatana, 9. Janaka, 10. Kratu, 11. Katyana, 12. Jatakami, 13. Kapinjala, 14. Bodhyana, 15. Kannada, 16. Vishwamitra, 17. Patinasa, 18. Gobila. After establishing that the Vedas are apurashyamis, i.e. not stated by any human being, Sri Nagalinga Sastri Garu establishes that the Upanishads are part of the Vedas, and not only the 10 Upanishads, for which commentary was written by Adi Shankaracharya, the other Upanishads are also equally authoritative, because many others relied on other Upanishads, including 1. Adi Shankaracharya himself, while writing commentary on Pancha Rudrapanishads and Narasimhatapani Upanishad, 2. Vedyasa, while writing Puranas at various places, and also Yogavastistam. 3. Bhattapana in the foreword to Rudrabhasyam. 4. Srikanta or Nilakantaradhya, while establishing Parameshvara Paramyam in Nilakantabhasyam. 5. Sri Vidyaranya in his Upanishad Bhasyam. 6. Sri Ramanujacharya in Narayana Paramyavadam. 7. Palkuri Somanaradhya in Chaturveda Saram. 8. Apaya Dikshitar in Parameshvara Paratrapam. 9. Yogeshwara in Yoga Gita. 10. Sadashivacharya in Shivasutra Bhasyam. 11. Nagesh Bhatta in Manjusha. 12. Shashanga in Paramartha Saram. 13. Srihara Dattacharya in Sruti Shuktamala. 14. Bodhayana, Satyashada, Apastamba, and others, while writing on Tripundavidi, Sulagavam, Isanabali, etc., and was given various other quotations as well in slokas 8, 9, and 10. He has established the supremacy of the Shaivagamas, stating that Shiva is Karta for both the Vedas and the Agamas, quoting from various sources including Sutta Samhita, Sivarka, Manidipika, Shivatattva Vivekam of Apaya Dikshitar, etc. Sri Nagalinga Sastri Guru discussed in detail various other points concerning the greatness of the Shaiva Siddhanta against the background of all the Vidyasthanams stated above, and interpreted the Shaiva Siddhanta in unison and without contradiction anywhere. He dismissed the views of some persons, calling some Puranas as Sattvikam and some as Tamasam, etc., as uncalled for. Considering some Vedic texts as authoritative and others not is ill-conceived. The contents of this book are presented briefly as an introduction to know the Vidyasthanams first. The various works of Sri Nagalinga Sastri Guru mentioned at the end may be gone through in detail to appreciate the scholarly presentation of the Vedavangyamayam in explaining the Shaiva Siddhanta thoroughly, covering in the background the various schools of thought with authoritative quotations from all the Vedic texts. In spite of all these efforts, says Nagalinga Sastri Guru, that there must be Shivanugraham, or Shiva's grace, from the truth to dawn like a flash, and praised Lord Shiva fervently in his regard to bestow his grace on whomsoever is going through his books. 7. Excerpts from the writings of Sri Nirmala Shankara Shastri Guru, Shaiva Maha Pidatipadi Vijayavada. Religion or matam does not simply mean one's liking or disliking, so lightly expressed these days. The word religion conveys a greater meaning, prescribing a respectful way of life. 1. Vedavyasa said, while starting the commentary on the Brahma Sutras, before stating the first sloka, Adato Brahma Janasa Jia Upananishadi Mimamsa Prarabayate, meaning that he is starting a full discussion on the Upanishads. He did not say or project his own views or Siddhanta or any matter of his liking. 2. Similarly, Sri Krishna Bhagavan said while starting Gita Pravachanam that Itishu Upanishad, meaning that he is saying the good essence of the Upanishads, which he heard from Lord Shiva, i.e. Shivagitalu at Bharadarikshamam in his previous birth, when he did penance for 66,000 years praying Shiva in Lingarupa. Therefore it is but necessary to know the various Siddhantas in vogue or prevailing in the Hindu religion. These are generally grouped into 4 categories, namely Shivadaitam or Vishishtadaitam, 2. Advaitam or Kevaladvaitam, 3. Dvaitvaitam, and 4. Dvaitam. Primarily depending on the Siddhanta establishing the shape or appearance of the ultimate reality called God, either as Shiva, Vishnu, Shakti, etc., and we are concerned here with Shivadvaitam, also called Vishishtadvaitam. The word Vishishta conveys the meaning of greatness, embodied with the question arises, with whom? The answer is embodied with Shakti. Again, scholars identify the existence of Shakti as of 2 kinds, and in 2 avasthas and states or conditions. They are Shukshma, i.e. minute, and Sthula, i.e. sizable, corresponding to Karana avastha and Karya avastha. In these 2 states, Shakti, in Karana avastha, is in a very minute form, in unison with Shiva, both at the time of creation and also at the time of destruction. The relationship between Shiva and Shakti is inseparable at all times. Again, Shakti presents itself in 2 shapes, Chit and Achit. Chit means Jivatma, and Achit means the visible world outside. Jivatma being Amsa, or minutest part of Paramatma, or God, heaving Chaitanya Shakti, or moving spirit in him, his running of the bodies he is wearing either as a human being or as a celestial god. The unmovable world outside of the Achetana Prapancham is provoked by or simulated by Chaitanya or Jivatma, expanding with light in all directions. Again, this Jivatma being, Alpajna or knowledgeable, is depending on Paramatma, and realizing in the course of time that Paramatma is guiding him, prays to that Paramatma with unswerving devotion, and gets released from the cycle of birth and death. That is why scholars of Vedanta call Paramatma in unison with Stula Chit Shakti as Karyam and Paramatman in unison with Shukshumna Chit Shakti as Karanam, for explaining the word Vishishtadvaitam as shown hereunder. Vishtachancha, i.e. Karana Brahma, Vishtichansha, i.e. Karya Brahma, Vishtite, Tayoradvaitam, i.e. Ekavastutvam, Vishishtadvaitam. Thus the Jiva and Jagat, or the Karana-Karya relationship, is an inseparable relationship of Niyama-Niyamaka, i.e. appointee-appointed relationship. That is why the Jiva and Jagat, having relationship with Paramatman throughout, are also permanent, or truth, or existing, like Parameshvara without. This truth of existence of Jiva and Jagat at all times, both when Jiva is in body or when Jiva is free from the cycle of births and deaths, is therefore indisputable. If one says that Jiva merges in Shiva inseparably at the time of moksha, it affects or goes against the Jiva's Nikya Shatyatvam. In the Nadi Samudra Nyayam, or rivers joining the sea theory, it is accepted that rivers leaving their Stula Dasha are embracing the Shukshma Dasha, or becoming one with the sea. If this meaning is not accepted, then the meaning of the following accepted slokas by all get affected. 1. Sasnutar Sharvan Kaman Sama Brahmana Vidaschite Sruti. The released soul will enjoy all happiness with Brahman. 2. Mukta Samabhavit. The meaning of the Rishi is that Mukta Purush becomes equal with Brahman. 3. Bhogamatra Samyalingacha. Meaning Mukta Purush shares all enjoyments with Brahman. In this regard, it is appropriate to quote the first sloka from Saiva Siddhanta Prabodham to make the point more clear. Srimat Shaivamate Shivaha Paratamo Jiva Prapancha Srirao Chaitanyadi Gunaya Shivena Sammatat Mapnotte Jiva Kila Praptaha Shambho Samischadya Pasulam Prajna Pumam Samsara Tvartasan Tadanugrahat Shivashammo Bhakyaksha Muktabhavit. This sloka states that in Shaiva Siddhanta, Ishvara Jiva and Jagat are all permanent, or Nitya Shatyatvam, and a Mukta Purush enjoys all happiness in the company of Shiva except Shrushti Kartutvam, which he is not asking. Religion and Siddhanta are intertwined like precept and practice. If the religion has no proper Siddhanta, it is difficult to pray to God, or take Diksha, or to understand the Sampradayam and implement it in day-to-day life. It is like mixing curd with paddy instead of rice before eating. A religion which has no clarity or fixed principles as laid down by the Vedas, or is not practiced by those following it, cannot live long. That is why Shaiva Siddhanta emphasizes from the beginning to the end the importance for uninterrupted Shivapasana, giving one word Shiva to the seeker of truth for meditation, throughout assuring him that Vishishtadvaita alone is authentic and Shaivam alone is Vaidikam, or according to the Vedas. One who is worshipping Shiva by taking Sambhava Diksha, i.e. Pashupatha Diksha, i.e. Shiravratam, i.e. Lingadharana Diksha, for life alone can be considered a complete human being. Moksha, or release from the cycle of births and deaths, is only experiencing Shivanandam to one's complete satisfaction, for which Shivanugraham is essential because bandha, or bondage, and moksha, or release, are both controlled by Shiva only. This therefore calls for a brief exposition in the greatness and importance of Sambhava Diksha, Pashupatha Vratam, Lingadhara Diksha, Shiravratam, are all synonyms for a person wearing linga on his body. Even Shankaracharya says in Shivaparanda Kishmapana Strotam that Shiram, or the body, is the house to place the linga. Shariram Gruham. Atharva Sirapanishad says, Trusnam bitvahetu jalasya mulam buddhya samchintya tapayitvacha rudra yuktva mahuhu rudram saspatam vai purana mishamurjam vrata metat pasupatam. Pasupata vratam consists of wearing 3 lingas. 1. Ishtalinga on the body. 2. Pranalinga by doing Panchakshari Japam, keeping the Ishtalinga in the hand instead of going to a temple and without any disturbance either from the other devotees or Nandishvara himself installed opposite the linga. And 3. Bhavalinga by concentrating the inner mind on the Paramatman seated in the Jivatma, and whoever so concentrates only gets eternal peace, and others not, says the Srutis thus. Vilagramatra hrudayasya madhye viswadevam jata vidasam varenyam tamatmastam ye anupasyanti dira stestam santihi svaspati na itaresham. Therefore, for begging Bhavalinga Shakchatkaram, the Sruti says the seeker has to do archana of the Ishta and pranalingams, and that is why Sruti emphasizes prani shvantar manaso lingamahur yasmin pradyoyatsha trushda shamacha. The mind which is enriched by krodha, trishta, and kishma, i.e. anger, thirst, and forgiveness, is activated by the pranalinga inside, by the changing of the Panchakshari mantra Namah Shivaya, because Parameshvara lies in the Shukshumna Shariram, or body of the person, in the shape of pranalinga. That is why Shruti, in the following slokas, with all kindness, is exhorting the seeker or sadhaka to wear Shiva Linga on the body, and through pranalinga nusandanam, or connection with the pranalingam, get bhavalinga shachatkaram easily. 1. Ishamurjam tapasya niyachata. 2. Vratametet pashupatam tat samacharet mumukshu na punarbhyaya. 3. Amrutasya devadarano bhuyasam. 4. Namo brahmane dharanam me astva nirakaram dharayata bhuyasam. All these Shruti Vakyams say time and again, asking the seeker to wear the Ishtalinga on the body throughout his lifetime, and not for 20 days or 40 days. Ishta means Ishtalingam. Urjam means linga having connection with earth. Tapasya means throughout one's life. Devadarana, Devadarna me, and Shivavratam all mean only Ishtalinga Dharana and the body of the person and nothing else. That is why Spetashvataropanishad emphatically says in the end that whoever wears linga on his head throughout his life is eligible for knowing Brahmavidya. Teshamye betam Brahmavidya vadita. Rigveda also exhorts the seeker to wear the linga on the body for its purification at all times. Pavitram te vitatam brahmana spatte prabhur gatrane paryashi vishwataha. Brahma means here Shiva Linga, and the mantra says that, O Shiva, those who wear you in the shape of Ishtalinga on their bodies are always protected by you. This meaning is reiterated by Yajurveda mantra, Yaterudra Shiva Tanuragore Papakshini, and in the Samaveda mantra, Anatardharana Shaktova Ashaktova Dvijotamaha Samskrutya Gurunadatam Ishtalinga Murustale. Again in Atharveda, Ishvara Shakya mantra says, Yovama hastaripita lingamekam paratparam darayate vipraha shrotiryova tasyavata labhyam paramesvaro so nirajanam paramam samya mupaiti. That whoever is wearing the linga on his body and is praying to the Lord, he alone gets him in full measure. One need not doubt that because the body is impure, linga should not be worn on the body. All celestial gods, including Brahma, Vishnu, Indra, Lakshmi, Sarasvati, etc., wear the linga on their bodies. At Pandharpur, Panduranga is wearing the linga on his head. At Tirupati, Sri Venkateshvara is holding the linga in his right hand. Women are equally eligible to wear the linga on their bodies like men. In Pandarika, Yagyam is done for 40 days by the Karta, and his wife is allowed to serve food to the Ritviks or Vedic Brahmins, despite her being in her menses period. Women like Gargi are authorized to do Brahmopadisham. Therefore, by Shiva Linga Dharana alone, one is considered a complete human being. 7. Introduction to Shaiva Siddhanta. Excerpts from the writings of Abhinava Badarayana, Upanishad Vakayatru Chakravarti, Nirabari Kailashvasi, Shiva Sripati Pandit Aradhyulu, Aradhyulu, former Shaiva Mahapidi Pati, AD 1900 through 1990. In Shaivadvaita Siddhantam, Shiva is identified as Brahman, or the ultimate reality, with Jiva and Jagat both coexisting in him. The Mundaka Upanishad mantra says, Brahma Vedamamrutam Parastat Brahmadakshinata Uttarinacha Adakrandancha Prastrutam Brahma Vedam Vishwamidam Varistam. This entire universe or Jagat is Brahman. Ishvara or Brahman is encircling this Jagat on all the four sides, east, west, south, and north. In other words, this universe is protected by Brahman, like the child in the mother's womb. Unless the child is there in the womb, we do not call the mother as pregnant. If the child is not there, the words mother and pregnancy have no meaning. When a woman is not carrying, how can we call her pregnant? In this view, how can it be said that Brahma is Satyam and Jagat is Midya? Brahma Satyam, Jagat Midya, or Brahman is existing encircling the Midya Jagat, or encircling the universe that is not existing. It sounds ridiculous. Therefore, this Mundaka Upanishad mantra is establishing the fact that both Jagat, or universe, and Brahman are very much existing, or their existence is a reality similar or equal in all aspects. This Jagat is as much Satyam as Brahman. Again, another Upanishad mantra is saying, Padosha Vishva Bhutani, Tripadasya Amrutam Divi. This means that one part is this universe or Jagat, and three parts is Brahman or Ishvara. Now, as per Mundaka Shruti stated above, this universe is like the child in the mother's womb. In that case, this cosmic universe, or Vishwam, is made up of 1/4 part Jagat and 3/4 part Brahman, says the mantra. However, this Jagat is stated as non-existing according to the views of the Midyavadins, or those professing Advaita philosophy of Adi Shankaracharya. In any article or thing, if it is made into 4 equal parts, all the 4 parts are equal or similar in all respects among themselves, like 4 coins in a rupee. How can 1/4 part become midya, or non-existing, and 3/4 parts satyam, or existing? So both Jagat and Brahman are very much coexisting. Now, after establishing Jiva and Jagat as coexisting, their relationship vis-a-vis Brahman in Shivadvaita Siddhantam, let us examine the meaning of the word Advaita. The word Advaita is stated in Mundakya Upanishad as under Prapancha Paramam Santam Shivam Advaitam Chatrudam Manyante. This mantra contains 5 words or syllables: Prapancha Paramam, Santam, Shivam, Advaitam, Chaturdam, and 1 verb, Manyante, which means invoking, but there is no karta or proper noun in the mantra. Since all the Upanishadic lore is intended for educating the seeker of salvation, or mumukshu, we have to agree that mumukshu is karta of this mantra. This means mumukshuva manayante, or the seekers of salvation are invoking. Then invoking what, and invoking whom? In this mantra, 5 Dvityanta Padams, or words of the second case, are there. They are discussed below with their possible meanings. Papancha Paramam. Papancham means universe, and Uparamam means joined with or in unison, without any visible difference. In effect, means one who is the root cause of this universe. 2. Santam means calm, serene, like the placid waters of the ocean. Shivam. There are 3 meanings for this word. Mangalaya Karaka, or embodiment of all good. Mangala Svarupa, or good appearance, and Shiva, the Brahman. 4. Advaitam. This is explained by the sloka. Dvejiva jagate ite langate yasmin saha dvetaha svarda urdas dvitayeva dvataha navidyate dvaitaha yasmatsa advaitaha, which means one who has in himself both jiva and jagat, with no one or a second person competing with him. 5. Chaturdam means the 4th, or after 3 tattvams. Now let us consider which one of the above words is karta, or noun. Except the word Shivam, there is no other word which can be karta. If the word Shivam is understood as representing Shiva, or the Brahman, or the ultimate reality in Saiva Siddhanta, then all the other 4 words above become adjectives to Shiva, because Amarakasham, the authoritative Sanskrit dictionary or glossary, says, Shambhurisha Pashupati Shivaha Suli Maheshvaraha. Therefore, following the Amarakasham dictionary, the meaning of Shiva means the Brahman, the ultimate reality. Now the prime sentence in the mantra becomes the Mumukshuva Shivam Manayante, meaning that the seekers of salvation are invoking or praying to Shiva. How are they praying? They are praying to Shiva as Prapancha Paramam, or the root cause of this universe, as Santam, or after destruction of the universe. He alone is there calm and serene, pulling in himself the jiva and jagat, like a tortoise pulling unto itself as Chaturdam, or the 4th person, the other 3 being Sadashiva, Maheshvara, and Rudra, in the descending order as explained hereafter. So this Mundakya Upanishad Mahamantram is describing the Mahapralaya Kailashvasi, or the state of affairs existing at the time of destruction of this universe before creation. This state at the time of destruction of the universe was also described in Spateshvatara Upanishad up to a particular point in time. Yadatamas nadiva naratrihi renasanacha sashiva yeva kevalaha tadaksharam tat savitur varenyam prajnacha tasmat prasruta purani. This mantra states that at the time of destruction of this universe, there was no division of day and night, existence or non-existence, and that Shiva alone was there, etc. However, this Mandukya mantra, it is more clear in that it is stated that the destruction of this universe was over, and that the person responsible for this destruction is Shiva, and that he has pulled into himself Jiva and Jagat like a tortoise, and that he is apart from Sadashiva, Maheshvara, and Rudra. Now let us know who are these persons. For Shiva to become Chaturdam, as stated above, the meaning of Chaturdam is described below. Tasmadva yatasmadatmana akashaha shambhutaha akashadva yuha vayoragnihi agnarapaha adbyaha prudvi. This Shruti mantra says that from Parameshvara, this cosmic universe or sky is born. From the sky is born the air, from air the fire, from fire the water, from water this earth is born. Parameshvara is Chetan, or having life, while these 5 elements, sky, air, fire, water, and earth, are Achittanams, or Jadams, having no life. Then the question arises, how these Achittanams are born from Chittanam. These 5 terms, sky, air, fire, water, and earth, mentioned in this mantra, are not the 5 elements commonly understood. This is explained in Shiva Puranam Vayavya Samhita as under Sadashiva, Sabdamurti, Sparsamurti, Stadeshvara, Rudra, Stejamayaha, Sakshad Rashamurti, Janardana, Gandhamurti, Chaturvakraha, Ityeta Panchamurtyaha. The sky means the presiding deity of Akash or cosmos, one of the 5 elements represented by Sadashiva, air by Maheshvara, fire by Rudra, water by Narayana, and earth by Brahma. So the meaning of the mantra is that from Shiva is born Sadashiva, from Sadashiva Maheshvara, from Maheshvara Rudra, from Rudra Narayana, and from Narayana Brahma are born. The ancestor is Shiva, and Sadashiva, Maheshvara, Rudra, Vishnu, and Brahma is the genealogical tree. Therefore, Chaturdam is the Prapanchoparamam mantra cited above, means the one other than Rudra, Maheshvara, and Sadashiva, or the fourth one, the Prapanchoparamam mantra from Mandukya Upanishad, is describing the Mahapralayam, or total destruction of Sadashiva, because Sadashiva and below are all jivas. The Svetasparatara mantra quoted above is describing only this Sadashiva pralayam, that all bhutams or elements are in a stalemate, and that Shiva alone is there at the point of time. Now, after considering the meaning of the word Chaturdam, let us consider the meaning of the word Advaitam in this Mundakya mantram. It is already stated above that Advaitam means one who has in himself both Jiva and Jagat, with no one else or a second person competing with him. It is also stated above that at the time of Mahapralayam, or total destruction, there is no activity in the five elements, or Panchabhutams, representing this Jagat. Then the question arises as to where are the five elements, or Panchabhutams, at that time. This is explained by the word Advaitam in the mantram. The word Dvaita means two. Which two? It can be any two, but how to say that they are Jiva and Jagat? This is indicated by the word Prapanchoparamam. Prapanchoparamam means growthlessness, or Vishtaranabhavam. When applying this growthlessness to the Panchabhutams, it means they are not in use or not in action. For Jiva to be in action, he requires body, or sariram. Sariyate iti sariram. Therefore, Vistamabhavam, stated above, means the state in which the jivas have no tie or bond or nexus with the body, or sharirams. This means that the bhutams, or the five elements, are in their naked state, and jiva also in their naked state, without bodies or sarirams. Therefore, dvai in the mantram means only jiva and jagat in their naked state, and the tattvam into which they are mixing or blending or conjoining is dvaitam, and advaitascha, shivascha, shivadvaita, which, when spelled as Shivadvaitam, means in the masculine gender, Shiva, in whom both Jiva and Jagat are blended together, and the philosophy is called Shivadvaita Siddhantam, and the Sampradayam, or customs followed, are called Shivadvaita Sampradayam. The entire Vedas, or the Veda Vangmayam, is only explaining this Shaiva Siddhanta and nothing else. For Mamokshu, or the seeker of salvation, Shaiva Siddhanta offers him a package deal in the shape of Shaiva Mahadiksha, a diksha for life, or ajamantam, and not for 20 days or 40 days diksha, to become one with the ultimate reality, to realize God. There is no fear of failure to reach the ultimate reality in following this Shaiva Siddhanta, because both jnana, or knowledge, and karma, or action, are taken care of, which is popularly called karma, jnana samuchaya vadam, and is explained in this book with authoritative quotations from the Vedas, etc. See commentary on 35th sloka. Shiva Gurave Namaha. Chapter 1. Shiva above time and space, and Lord of this universe. Sloka 1. Nilayikruta Shalaya Valaikruta Bogine Vilayanga Amitashesha Jagate Shambhave Namaha. In this sloka, the author, Mahopadhyayasivayogi, Lokoradya Sri Mudigonda Nagalinga Sastri Garu, is offering salutations to Lord Shiva, whose abode is Mount Kailash, and who has the great serpent Nagendra as an ornament around his neck, and who alone exists at the time of destruction of this universe, before creation. The author in this very first prayer sloka itself started stating the Shaiva Siddhanta in brief, indicating that Shiva alone was there at the time of destruction of this universe. with both jivas and jagat in him, ready to be released at the time of creation. A calm, serene, placid, tranquil, and peaceful state of affairs is indicated. Further, the author's name is Nagalinga Sastri, and he is identifying himself with Shiva, wearing the serpent king Nagendra. Saiva Siddhanta preaches Shivaham Bhavana, which is also indicated in this sloka. Sloka 2. Natvaguru pada dvandvam soditva shastra jalakam kadayette shukabodha Saiva Siddhanta Sangraha. Bowing to the teacher's feet and after examining the various Vedic texts, Saiva Siddhanta is stated in brief for easy understanding by one and all. The teacher mentioned in the sloka is one who has given the author the linga and panchakshari mantra at the time of taking Saiva Mahadiksha by him. In Saiva Sampradayam, the three respected in order are the Guru, the linga, and the Jagama or Shiva Bhakta. Sloka 3. Asam pratamamikoha ityattarva shiragira ikevala shiva eveti svatashvatara vakyataha. The author started explaining the Saiva Siddhanta from this sloka onwards, quoting the first or two words from the mantras taken from the Vedas, Upanishads, Smrtis, Samhitas, Dharma Shastras, and Puranas, etc., in support of the proposition made by him in the sloka. These are authoritative quotations from the Vedas, etc., and are therefore numbered by me as quotations sloka number 1, 2, etc., on the right side chronologically for easy reference by the reader later on, and mentioning the name of the Sruti and Upanishad, etc., on the top. Further, I have also reproduced at the end of the book all the 38 slokas and 202 quotation slokas in Telugu, Tamil, and Kannada languages for easy understanding of the slokas in one's own mother tongue, so the readers can by heart learn the slokas while going through the text before reading the commentary, as this will enable them to understand Saiva Siddhanta easily. Shiva alone was there at the beginning of this universe, before creation, says the Atharva Upanishad, and except Shiva, none else was there at that point of time, says the Svetasvatara Upanishad. Emphatically, now the slokas of these two Upanishads are mentioned below, with their meanings. Atharva Upanishad mantra, Devahave Svargalo Kamagman Te Devardura Mapchahan Ko Bhavaniti So Abravit Ahemikaha Pratama Masham Vartamika Bhavisyamitka Naneyaha Kaschinmato Vyatirka iti. Once the celestial gods went to Kailash, the abode of Lord Shiva, the place of unlimited happiness, and asked Rudra as to who he is. Rudra said that he alone was there at the beginning of the universe, and continues to be there in present, and will be there in the future. There is no one existing apart from him, right through all these three periods of time. Therefore, according to Atharva Upanishad, the unaffected person in the past, in the present, and in the future is only Shiva, and therefore Shiva alone is the Lord of this universe, or Jagat Karanam. Svetasvatara Upanishad mantra 418, Yadatamas Nadiva Naratrihi, Rina Sanacha Satshiva Eva Kavalaha Pradaksharam Tat Saviturvarenyam Prajnacha Tasmat Prasruta Purani. When darkness was pervading everywhere, and there was no division of day and night, or existence and non-existence, Shiva alone was there, indestructible all along. Shiva is worshipped by the sun god and affirms that chanting of Gayatri mantra is the only worshipping. Bharga, meaning Shiva Bhargo